All right, what you're looking at here is Plex Media Server. I wanted to focus on, in particular for cord cutters, some of the advantages to having a Plex pass and adding a qualified tuner to your Plex Media Server so that you can record over-the-air television with a complete electronic program. It's a program guide. That's something that usually you have to pay for extra with a lot of different vendors like Tableau. The original generation. The new tablet device comes with an electronic program guide, interestingly, but it doesn't have remote access, so you can't watch TV anywhere anymore, and you can't watch your recordings from anywhere anymore. You have to do it locally on your LAN. And with Plex, you don't have those kind of limitations. So let me show you some of the other benefits to Plex with regards to watching over-the-air content. First, I want to show you just how it integrates with your existing system. So here we have a recording of The Masked Singer. It just goes right along with the ripped content that I already have defined in my Plex Media system. So TV shows show up with the rest of your TV shows, even though they're recorded from over-the-air content. And that is just really nice to see that level of integration. So if we were to look at playing back The Masked Singer here that was recorded, we can resume from where I left off or start from the beginning. I want to start from the beginning because I want to show you another interesting feature. When I recorded this, I set it to where ads can get skipped so that we can skip the ads and go straight to the content. So like we were in the, if we were going through this and we get to a commercial section, I'm not sure if it's how easy that is when you have skip commercial set. The other thing I want to show you is just briefly, I've got my settings set kind of low right now, so it defaults down. So let me go ahead and convert this all the way up to what was capable on. This is a 720p station in my area, so the highest I can go to is a 720p representation. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that it's kind of whatever you record DVR-wise is just going to show up naturally as part of your Plex system, and that is just so nice. So, and now, for the pinned tabs that I have, one of the things I have pinned is my live TV section. This shows you all the things that I have access to with regards to over-the-air television right now. So, over-the-air wise, you scan using your antenna, your tuner. It finds all the channels, and then from the channels it finds, you select the ones you're interested in, and those are the ones that are going to show up here and be stored with your system that you can see the guide information for. And this guide information goes out a long way. So unlike standard free EPGs that might only handle 28, 48 hour kind of content, this goes out to that 14-day style view, so that you can set things to record that are coming up in weeks, from today, with regards to what you record. So you can view live TV. So like I could say, hey, just start watching this channel. In this case, I'm going to watch that Fox channel. And so this is kind of like a live watch. There's a brief pause here, and that's because, even though I'm watching TV, it's going to want to capture it to disk, and that's so that I can do things, like you're used to doing, like pause live TV and then start up from where you left off. So you can do that, even though I'm not recording this particular station. I'm viewing it live. I can still pause it and resume, and of course it also means that I can go backwards, and well, okay, it is working. Anyway, so you can go backwards, and forwards on what has already been recorded on the disk. It's just that it's not going to preserve this data while you're watching unless you tell it to record it. So anyway, so you have those kind of live TV conveniences, and you can change channel, and you can see, you notice the delay that we were seeing there, with regards to the television. It would start playing, and then it has to capture for a second, and then buffer, and then show what's happening. A lot of DVR systems will have this if they're allowing you to do that whole pause and skip backwards kind of feature of television, right? Obviously, you can't go back in time to the portion of the show that you haven't been recording or whatever. So when you're doing live TV, it's kind of like, from here on out, you'll be able to go backwards, pause, things of that nature. Setting a new recording, well, before I get there, so you could do channel surfing like this, just looking at the guide, and of course, right now I've got my guide, march way forward. I'm not showing what's, happening right now, but I went way forward. I went clear into Saturday. But anyway, I think there's a now, so click on now. That's the easiest way to get back to where we're at. You've got like little sections up here where you can look at Furby, you can look at all this other stuff, but that has to do usually with the Plex channels that they give you, the free TV channels they give you. This is just the view. When I say Furby, Furby's the name of my Plex Media Server. I'm just seeing the channels that come off of my over-the-air antenna that are available to me. But I can go to Browse. Browse is very interesting because now I can actually look at, the shows and everything that's coming up, and I've got a way to look at them. So let's say I'm interested in just sports. I could go to sports and then find, hey, I'm interested in a college game, and maybe, say, hey, I'm interested in this Virginia versus Tennessee game. I'll go over and hit this to record, and then you have the options where it's going to go, and these would be folders that are already defined to your Plex server where you store your media. And you can have a dedicated folder just for DVR. You don't have to. In my case, it is mixed. So I have RIP shows here, and I also am storing my DVR shows here. And that's fine. You can do it however you like. And then when you go to Show Advanced, you get some additional features that are interesting, especially for live television. The main thing I wanted to show you is we'll prefer HD. You say, what's that for? If you find the same show defined both in an SD format and an HD format, and it's at the same time, in order for it to know what channel to record from, it'll prefer the HD one if it has it, right? So that's why you would do that. Why you'd have prefer HD, and that's the default, and so that's probably what you're going to leave that alone. Partial airings, that's like if you say record a show, but it's already halfway over or whatever, that's going to be fine. That's probably what you want. You're going to want to be able to capture the remainder of the show after you told it to record, right? But this minutes after end thing is very interesting for live TV, where you can basically say, it's football, and I want to record at least 45 minutes after what you say is going to be the end of the game, and that's because games tend to go long, right? And so that's really interesting. And of course, you could set this really high, like if it's a Super Bowl or some really special game, to try to make sure that you capture all that content. Otherwise, it's going to follow the schedule that was presented to it in the EPG, so in the program guide. So I recommend that. If you're going to do live, go in here, make sure you put a buffer at the end. Now, mind you, that means that tuner is going to be busy beyond the normal schedule there. So if you think that you have other things scheduled afterwards, you might get into a tuner overload situation, okay? So where there's not enough tuners for what you need to record. And this kind of messes things up because you look at it and you say, hey, none of this stuff overlap with each other. But if you go in and manually tell something to go beyond, it's going to lock on that tuner for that extra additional time, possibly interfering with something else that you had scheduled. So let's go ahead and go ahead and set this to record, just because I want to show you one more feature, detecting commercials. So it's disabled. That would record everything the way it is. There is a default you can set at the DVR level, to say use the default setting, and these are the settings you can have. You can say detect and delete commercials. That one's dangerous because while it will save you disk space, if it messes up, you've just lost all that content. So let's say it deletes something and it thinks it's a commercial, but it was actually your actual content. So I actually like this last one, which is detect the commercials and mark for skip. And you saw that earlier with the Masked Singer. The Masked Singer was recorded that way, so we could just hit that skip ads button, and it would just take us through the ads. So that's a very nice convenience tool. And in case it messes up, you can just back up through the content and play what it thought was the commercials and actually see the content that you missed because the commercial skipping feature wasn't working quite right. So go ahead and set that up to record. And once you have it set record, I got the little dot there indicating it here. If I go back to my live TV and go to my scheduled, I'll see that that I have. If you go over into the far right, I'll see the Virginia versus Tennessee. It's actually beneath my face right now, but there's a Virginia versus Tennessee right here. I don't think you can see it because my face is in the way, but that's where it is. And then I mentioned because you did that extra amount at the end of the game, you have this ability. This is actually a recording priority queue. So I could say, well, not in this case because let's just say we had an overlap. There was multiple things here that were going to be in an overlap scenario. I can tell it which one to prefer. So when it has to, when it runs out of tuners, it knows which programs take priority over others with regards to recording. So if you ever have a scheduling conflict, this recording priority can tell you which content you favor over other content. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you're going to have more tuners. And so that's an option too, is you can always add more tuners into your Plex system. Right now I have a two-tuner Hauppauge card plugged into my unit, but I have actually tested Plex Media Server with up to 8 tuners. Can you imagine? 8 simultaneous tuners. That means I could record programs at the same time on up to 8 different channels, and that is just amazing. Okay, so it does support that if you want to pay for that, right? So I just want to show you. So that's setting up a recording. You've seen what's on is kind of interesting because you can see what's actually going on right now, what's playing on the various channels. So this is versus that guide kind of surfing. So this presents you another style of surfing that maybe is a little bit easier. Rather than actually flipping through the channels, you can actually see what's on just by scrolling back and forth very quickly, right? And it's got them grouped. Shows that are on now, movies that are on now, kids shows that are on now, news shows that are on now. So you can actually, so it's kind of broken down, and that's kind of nice. Or you can go to that one that's kind of like the Big Surf. What's on now across all of your channels, right? So very good for cord cutting. And again, unlike current generation Tableau tuners, the new 4th gen that came out, you can still do remote live TV viewing. You can still do remote record viewing off of your DVR or any of the Plex, right? And you get that benefit that if it doesn't handle MPEG-2 video with AC3, which a lot of devices may not handle, like in the case of my browser here, it's going to need to transcode it to MPEG-4 AAC in order to play back. It's automatic. It knows what the end device can support and handle, and Plex will automatically transcode that appropriately for my needs, for what I need to do. But if it can handle it natively, by the way, you won't get that big delay. With regards, I thought we had kind of a big delay there. We wouldn't have as near as big a delay on watching live TV if the native is supported by whatever your end device is. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So that delay is caused not only by storing the disk and buffering for playback, but also so it can transcode it so that it's appropriate for my end device, which is my browser in this case. So I wanted to show you that. If you're looking for a DVR, integrates in with your existing media system, why not leverage it? Why not leverage what you already have, add over-the-air content and DVR, EPG. All you have to have is a lifetime Plex, or have a Plex Pass. I would get the lifetime, just because you're going to use this forever, I hope, or at least for the next 5 years. I mean, we're way, way away from ATSC 3.0, so I wouldn't worry about that right now. And I don't think that ATSC 3.0 hoping that it won't be fully successful, because that brings DRM into over the air, and we won't be able to record anything anymore, sadly. So, but you still have a lot of time, and we're going to be with ATSC 1.0 probably for many years to come. This will give you a great way to add that to your Plex server without having to buy an extra device, and so it may cost about the same to add the tuners to your existing Plex Media Server, and you're just getting so much more benefit with regards to flexibility versus the devices that are currently out there. So I hope this kind of maybe sways your looking, for your solution to something that maybe is a little bit more flexible than some of the pre-canned solutions that are out there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Till next time.